Hi there, my name is Steve Gerhardt, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. It is a labor of love for me to do this, and so I am very thankful that you are here watching the video. Thank you so much for being here to do that. And so this week, normally I do reviews on here, but this week I'm going to give you, in my opinion, on something. My opinion of what I think should be given the anime treatment, whether it's made into a movie, anime movie, a series, an OVA, whatever. I think these are some things that I think could be good in terms of getting the anime treatment, so to speak. So before we get into that, please like and subscribe, hit the bell so that you can see future episodes if you happen to like these things. Oh, and one more thing, and I'll probably remind you at the end of the video. Otaku Station Season 4 is coming up in the next couple of weeks. The link will be down below, so please keep checking there, and you get to see myself, John, and Brent go in deep dive into 4 or 5 anime, and there's a special Patreon anime over there, in case you're interested. Yeah, it was an interesting one that we did there. So anyway, if you want to see that, the link's down below. All right, let's get into what I think should be things that be made into an anime. So another television series that I would like to see get the anime treatment is called The Terror, and I'm looking at the first season, not the second and third seasons, but just the first season. The first season you can actually find it on Netflix, I believe, in the AMC section. It is a limited series. I believe it's 12 episodes, if I remember correctly. Came out in 2018. And the plot of this is that in 1850, there are these British naval personnel looking for a lost Arctic expedition that had left 4 years prior in 1846. And they're looking for the crews of the two boats that went on this expedition. And then, so that's kind of where it starts, and then goes back in time to 1846 to them going into the ice pack and trying to figure out how to navigate through and find a more quick westwardly passage, kind of exploration route. And the lead boat is called the Terror, and the second boat is called the Erebus. The second in command, Crozier, is on the Erebus. He's a alcoholic, but is like kind of there to make sure that the actual captain and leader of the expedition doesn't screw everything up royally. Guess what happens? Because the leader, unfortunately, while he is knighted, has a tendency to make bad decisions. So obviously, this is 1850. The Terror, the boat, is supposed to be the most technologically advanced ship at that time, and it's a scientific vessel. So they're out there. They're measuring ice, the temperatures of the weather, the wind, the weather, all that stuff, and in trying to find a better passage through. And of course, what happens is that the two boats, the two ships, get locked in ice, and the the crews of both boats are having to go through the winter to survive. And they kind of knew that this might happen, so they are provisioned to a point. And so they go into that, and then Turnbach, a Eskimo. There's Inuit Indians out there that they are aware of, who say that this thing is out there eating people and hunting people down, and kind of the protector of the Inuit people and of the land, so to speak, such as it is. And so the crews are starting to get picked off one by one from this beast. You never really see it until the end. Like, you literally just see like blurring shapes and movement and that kind of thing, and people dying very, very badly. So combined with that, with what might happen when you're stuck in a place for too long and it's just miserable, you get a little bit of insanity, insubordination. There's a couple mutinies that try to happen, and all meanwhile this thing is lurking about, eating them periodically. So I think that would make for a great 12 episode series, I think. And it's just you got a psychological terror, you've got actual supernatural horror going on there, you have this exploration kind of thing going on, there is action there, you're dealing with very flawed people in this, and there's a little surprise character in there that by the end of it you're like, oh wow, you turned out to be a gem, didn't you? I don't want to spoil it for you in case you want to watch the series. You can watch the series again. I believe it's on Netflix, and I think you can find it on AMC streaming. It's a very, very interesting show, and I think giving the anime treatment of, I'm trying to think of any number of studios could probably do this well, and I think you would have interesting. I think it would be really interesting as an anime. It's got enough action and it's got enough psychological stuff going on that probably at each episode you're probably going, oh my god, it's 4 a.m. in the morning, can I watch another episode? Should I watch another episode? I really need to go to sleep, but I really want to watch the episode. That's actually what happened to me when I watched the Terror, actually. So it's very bingeable. So yeah, I would love to see that as an anime. I think that would be, I think a lot of people would like it. I really, really do. Okay, so this one is more of an idea, a concept that I would like to see turned into an anime. This isn't so much a book or a movie or a cartoon or something that I think should get the anime treatment, but this is an idea of mine that I would like to see. And it can be kind of a healing anime, if you will. And something kind of nice, light, interesting, something that's introspective, something along the lines of, laid back camp, things of that nature, very nice, easygoing. The plot, we don't have a whole lot of drama, just kind of going through the motions and understanding what we're doing and that kind of thing. So the concept that I would like to see, one of the concepts I would like to see be turned into an anime, and this is one of those things where it could be any kind of anime. It could be a movie, it could be an OVA, it could be a regular series, what have you. But the idea that I have is that you have somebody in Japan, maybe somebody who lives in a wherever it is that they live, whether it's rural or it's urban or in Tokyo, where they're just kind of like in Japan, a Japanese person who just kind of wants to go out and just be in a different place and explore and push their boundaries a little bit, and by living in a place that is so unlike where they are now. And so I watched this YouTube channel, Cecilia Blumdahl, who lives on an island called Svalbard. And Svalbard is the northernmost island with the northernmost town on it in the world. And it is a Norwegian island. Norway kind of takes care of it. She's a photographer and a YouTuber, and very interesting stuff. I'll put her link down below. But what if you have a guy who says, I want to be in a completely different place, and I want to lead a different kind of life, something that's completely different than what I'm doing now here in Japan. And just having somebody live in somewhere where there's really not very many other Asians. As a matter of fact, in the main town of Svalbard, there are only about 2,000 or so people, give or take, depending upon the time of the year. And he goes there, and the attraction of Svalbard is that it's not like the Antarctic, town down at the South Pole, where it's just like everyone's like living on the edge of like, will they make it or not kind of a thing. Like, death can be like right around the corner. Svalbard is more Arctic, and it's more peaceful. The things you do have to worry about are the polar bears. Apparently there are more polar bears than humans on this island, and so that's a concern. But you can live a regular day-to-day life. In the main village, there is an actual large supermarket. There are coffee shops. There are things like that. There is a cinema. There's a movie theater that operates on the weekends. And while the weather is massively different, and you do have to kind of pay attention to what you're doing, it's not like death is right there once you step out the door, right? So this is a person that can live in a place that has a totally different language, totally different culture. I mean, Svalbard even even though it's Norwegian, has a totally different culture than Norway itself. Dealing with that, dealing with the fact that about 4 months of the year it is bright light at midnight, and another 4 of the 5 months of the year it is pitch black at noon, right? So somebody transplanted into this part of the world, and how they deal with that, and the friends that they make, and how they adjust to it, and how they make their way through it. What kind of work do they do? Like, how do they get there? Like, what is the thing? Is this guy going to be a teacher? Is he a scientist? What is he? I'm thinking maybe a scientist or something like that. And the friendships that he makes, and how he has to live in Svalbard, and the things that he has to do to be part of that village, of that life. So I'd like to kind of see that. I think that would be kind of interesting to see a Japanese transplant into another country. We do see that, right, in other anime, but I think this is such an interesting place to go to, and it is so unlike Japan that I think it would be very, very interesting to see. It'd be like myself going, okay, I'm moving to Japan, because there would be a lot of things I would have to learn, right? Okay, we all know that. So same thing, but it would just be a Japanese going to this really remote place. All right, so that's it for that. What do you think of that one? I'd really like to see it. Again, the link for Cecilia's YouTube channel will be down below. Okay, hope you give it a try, because it's kind of interesting. It really is. Since this video is about me wanting things to be given the anime treatment, and as long as I'm doing that, I might as well wish for a pony, as well as Flash Gordon getting the anime treatment. And no, I don't mean the serials before the movies in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. No, I don't mean the comic book. No, I don't mean the comic or the cartoons or any of that stuff. I do mean, however, yes, the movie. That movie. The one that came out in 1980. That hot mess of a movie that is just glorious. Just glorious, campy science fiction. It was just such a wonderful camp. Wonderful camp. And for those of you who don't know, in 1980, a version of Flash Gordon came out, directed by Mike Hodges. It has a list of who's who as characters: Brian Blessed, Max von Sydow. So many people are in this movie from the 80s who would go on to have bigger careers, except for Sam Jones, who plays Flash Gordon. I think this was his one and only real role. He would reprise a role as himself in Ted, that movie about the sentient teddy bear, that comedy. And but this version of Flash Gordon has such camp to it. And when you watch it, the sets are just glorious. Everything's over the top. Everyone's chewing up the scenery. And I would like to see an anime in that vein. Like, I want that campiness in there. I want it to be silly like that, but at the same time have that wonderful classic science fiction trope of Flash Gordon, Dale Arden, and the professor mystically, or not mystically, but scientifically transformed into another part of the universe where Ming is trying to destroy Earth and expand his area of control, and going up against the three of them going up against Ming, and gathering various allies, like Brian Blessed, who does the leader of the Hawkmen. He was famous for his line of "Dive, my Hawkmen, dive!" And it's just it's just glorious. I'm sorry, you have to watch this movie. So yes, the 1980s version of Flash Gordon. And since I'm wishing for that, I might as well say that also what would be I think mandatory to me is that you would keep the soundtrack. The soundtrack is by Queen. Yes, that band. They did the soundtrack for Flash Gordon, and it is actually quite good. So if you're a musophile, you know already about it. If you don't know, if you haven't heard about it before, I'm sure it's on Spotify, so go check it out. But I would love to keep that soundtrack to it. And I think this is something that like Clamp or Studio Trigger or somebody like that could do, that where things are just nonstop action, over the top. This would definitely be shonen, right? And just colorful and just moving. I think this would be a great shonen, maybe OVA, 4-episode OVA, and I think you can do a lot with this. So maybe someday we'll get that. Maybe. I hope so. All right. We've already talked about Max von Sydow in The Flash Gordon Wish of Mine becoming an anime, and Max von Sydow is going to be in this movie as well. It's called The Seventh Seal. It came out in 1957. It was directed by Ingrid Bergman. Yes, that Ingrid Bergman, famous director. And it is a Swedish movie, so it will be subtitled. And the plot, just to kind of give you an idea of it, is that there's a knight coming back from the Crusades with his very witty and sarcastic squire that attends with him. And he wakes up on the beach, the knight wakes up on the beach, and he starts to pray, and then he just kind of stops, and he's just like, whatever. And he sets up a chessboard, and he seems to be waiting. And then he kind of looks up, and then there's this figure in a dark cloak and a white face, deep circles, and it's Death. The knight knows it's Death, and the knight says, "Are you here to come for me?" And Death says, "Yes, I am." And the knight goes, "I hear you love playing chess." "Yes, I do." "Why don't I strike up a bargain? For as long as this game goes on, you don't reap me, but you give me time to do one of two things: figure out if there is a god, a hell, a devil, and what is going on. Is there a god? Or at least let me do one, give me this time, this reprieve, to do one meaningful thing in my life that I think is that I can claim, that I can say I did that." And Death agrees, and they play a game. So the idea is that they do a couple moves, for each day, and they keep playing this game. And as the game is going, Death agrees not to reap the knight. As the knight goes on his quest, or he's coming back home from the Crusades, he and the squire, he's going back to his castle, back to his wife, and he comes across a caravan of actors, a small caravan, and he comes across them and enjoys their company, and they go to a inn, a tavern, or a village that has been untouched by the Black Plague just as of yet. And so we meet more characters, and kind of a couple more people join the group to move through the forest to get to his castle. All the meanwhile, every day he plays chess with Death, makes a couple moves every day until, of course, the very end. There is no question about whether or not the knight is going to die. The question is whether or not he's going to achieve one or two of his goals. And so that's pretty much what it is. It's a beautifully made movie, and it's everywhere in pop culture. If you want to see something silly like Bill and Ted's one of the Bill and Ted movies, where the character Death, he's in that black shroud and white face, that is the direct character design from The Seventh Seal, and that's what the actor is trying to portray. You can see it in music videos, the most recent being from Baby Metal's new album, and they have a new video out for it. My Queens is, I believe, the name of the song, and that video is set on a chessboard with a looming death over them all, just kind of playing the pieces, so to speak. And yes, and it's in the same character design as the Seventh Seal. So Seventh Seal is kind of everywhere, and I would love to see this as a anime movie. In my heart of hearts, if I thought Oshii would come back to directing anime, I think this would be a perfect thing for him to do, because I think he would be the right fit for this intellectual exercise. It's very it's a thinky kind of thing going on, but I would love to see it getting the anime treatment, and I just think Oshii would be the prime director for that. So in my world, in my fantasy world, I would have this movie as an anime. What do you think? All right, so there's a handful of things I think should get the anime treatment. What do you think about my picks, my offerings to the anime creators? Hopefully, maybe one of them will watch this and maybe actually go, "Hey, there's an idea." Wouldn't that be cool? How about you? What do you think of all that? And do you have an idea for what something that might be a live action movie or a book or a video or whatever that should get the anime treatment? Put it down below. and let me know. Like I said, I'll give you links to the Svalbard on that, and links for any of the other stuff that I can find that might be relevant. I'll put down there. And again, gentle reminder, season 4 of Otaku Station is coming out in the next couple of weeks, so keep checking back. The link will be down below. I will be at Anime USA in October. Haven't got confirmation on my panels just yet, but I'm fairly certain that I'll be doing at least one, I think. So we shall see. We shall see. But anyway, there you go. That's it for this week. Stay healthy. Love you guys. And as always, watch more anime.